Pollinate is an organization that works on the cusp of gender, poverty, and clean energy. We work with the most marginalized women who've had no education or opportunities in their lives. Women are confined to the communities and they do not have access to income. Hence, we look for one woman in each of these communities and we provide her with entrepreneurship skilling. The second part is actually the tougher part. The women come with a lot less self-belief than even what we have on her. All we look for after we do a little bit of psychometry is to understand if she has a keen sense of, that fire in the belly to do something with her life, to pull herself and her family out of intergenerational cycles of poverty.
This is Design Darshan at BITS Design School. Welcome to the Care Value Place edition. We are here with Miss Sujatha Ramani,
who is the CEO of Pollinate Group. So can you tell us a little bit about what Pollinate does, what your line of work is?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. Pollinate is an organization that works on the cusp of gender, poverty, and clean energy. We work with the most marginalized women who've had no education or opportunities in their lives and typically get married just after puberty, and they come with their menfolk and their family from urban to rural in search of livelihoods. We also work with women in the rural, incidentally. And these women all come to a community. They're all from the same kind of districts or villages put together. And their only hope is to find access to some source of income, and the men typically have access to income. Women are confined to the communities and they do not have access to income. Hence, we look for one woman in each of these communities and we provide her with entrepreneurship skilling. And we go the extra mile of providing her with clean energy products. Since these communities are completely off the grid, no electricity, water, or sanitation, these products immediately improve the living conditions of everyone in the community. And the woman actually distributes these products, sells to the community members, keeps the margins, and keeps rotating the capital. And all of this we do at zero interest, zero cost, and we are completely driven by philanthropy and donations.
Okay, that is very, very interesting. So can you walk us through the process of how you would train somebody who's interested in your program and how you get them interested in your program to start with?
Yeah, so the second part is actually the tougher part. The women come with a lot less self-belief than even what we have on her. So these are people that have no role models. Their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunts, or their sisters, or the rest of the community women have not done anything different from other than just doing cheap, very low quality or low cost labor jobs. Hence, their ability to say that, yes, I can become an entrepreneur is very, very low. All we look for after we do a little bit of psychometry is to understand if she has a keen sense of, that fire in the belly to do something with her life, to pull herself and her family out of intergenerational cycles of poverty. We have to start, convincing her and work with her over a very long period of time. This takes, for all of us, we know we are kind of conditioned to take a program of 6 months or 1 year. But for her, she has no idea whether she'll have meal the next day. Is a child going to be, well the next day to go to school? Is she not going to get abused at home? So all of these weigh a lot in her head. And hence, her ability to concentrate on something like that is very, very challenging. So we stay the course, we make sure that we identify the right kind of women, and we start investing in her by simple content of communicating with your fellow community members, starting to talk about a product. So we have 3 levels of training for entrepreneurship, and the first level is all about simple communication, simple understanding of products, and then the next level is to understand what the community needs. So we do not want this to be too much of a push-driven, entrepreneurship, but more a pull-driven entrepreneurship. Are there inherent needs in the community that she can just fulfill? And she gains the confidence to say, yes, now I can, run a small micro business. So we invest in that inventory at zero cost, which means no interest applied on that. And hence, she takes 2 to 3, installments of collection from her community members, which makes it accessible to her community members. So that's the big difference. They could always go to a store and buy, but they can't afford full cost one-time purchase. So the woman actually becomes that crusader who's taking these products, makes it accessible to the communities while she builds a livelihood for herself. So this process takes about anywhere between 24 to 36 months for her to actually get comfortable with saying, yes, I need less and less investment from Pollinate, and now I can grow more and more being independent. right? So that's the way.
And how has the initial response changed over time? Because I'm assuming these women might be hesitant in the beginning, but then how has it changed over these months?
Yeah, so Pollinate is a 12-year-old organization, and we moved to the women-centric model in 2019, right? So then the pandemic hit, so we were all pulled back into our offices, and we restarted in late 2021 and 2022 onwards. So the women come with some interest, and once she starts earning a little bit, the barriers start coming up. The husbands think that she's growing wings, the mother-in-law thinks she's going out of my control. But the pandemic was a great lesson. The men lost their jobs overnight, and the women were able to put food on the plate. Then the mother-in-law said, I'll take care of the child, you go around into the community and ask what they need. The husband was a lot more supportive. He will carry the products alongside with her and was able to help these women give the products to the communities. Having said all of that, the women still do not, grow very fast because of their own inherent barriers that they have in their head. What will I do? How can I handle from 5,000 rupee inventory? How can I manage a 10,000 rupee inventory? How do I manage cash? So we also integrate digital learning. So when we try to bridge the economic divide, we also want to bridge the digital divide. We teach her how to handle her own bank account. We actually help her open a bank account. We teach her how to manage finance through digital means. We help her how to drive a UPI. So she slowly becomes a lot more capable of doing this by herself with less and less dependency on my Pollinate team and dependency on her husband's bank account or her husband's ability to do an UPI transaction. And beyond all of this, many of the women turn around and tell us that the income that we earn is what we invest in our children's education, which is a huge, reason that we all tend to believe that she can pull the entire family out of poverty. And much more basic than all of that is to say that once I have access to income, I have a voice in my own house. My husband now looks up to me and says, what can we do if we have this extra income? What do you think we should buy now next? And the mother-in-law gives her a lot more respect. So she says, I gain in social value. I gain respect. I gain voice. I gain so many basic things which I thought I would never be able to, have access to. So to us, all those are very, very heartwarming, indicators, apart from the economic indicator that we have that shows her ability to access income.
So you spoke about the mother-in-law and also the husband. Do you think that they're ever an issue in this process? I think especially if a woman starts earning, that's in some cases that hit to the husband's ego and he feels like he's losing power, and then that could cause health. How do you deal with that? And
so earlier when we used to find that woman in the community, we would all invest our initial time with her trying to build her self-belief. Then we realized we need to include the entire family in that process itself. So we tell them that she's going to do all of this, and that economic benefit actually comes to the entire family. She's not spending that money on herself. She's not buying clothes or jewelry for herself. She's actually increasing the quality of nutrition, the quality of education for the family, for the children, and she's actually able to put more food on the plate for everyone. So the family starts understanding that the benefit comes for all of them, and hence they are a lot more supportive. But that's a learning we've had over a period of time. We did face these challenges initially, and then when we started including the family members, we saw that these women were able to grow faster.
so how long do you train the family members in this kind of aspect?
We don't train the family members, but we keep them involved in the initial stages so that they know that this is something that everybody has a role to play in, while the focus is all on the woman and the training is all on the woman. The way they participate is give her that time off so that the mother-in-law then takes care of the child, or she does that cooking for that one evening, and then the woman is able to sit through the training. That is all part of a learning management system that we have on the phone, which is completely language agnostic and no read-write capable required, because none of the women are filtered through education or read-write or arithmetic capabilities. If I put those filters, none of the women will qualify. So we want the ones that have had no opportunities to be a part of this. And when she starts consuming the content on the learning management system, it's easy for her to keep visually learning as many number of times as and when she has the time to go through those content. Yeah. So that's the kind of time she needs to invest, which is not much, which is like maybe half an hour in a week for her to go through those content. And my field team is 70% of the organization. So they'll be completely in the field, working with them every day to meet them and help them get ahead in their journey of entrepreneurship. Yeah.
It's really interesting to know that the system that you've created has created a ripple effect.
Yes.
And from the lens of a designer, I think it has induced a kind of a behavioral change in the communities that you've started this initiative in. How can we now, as designers, contribute more towards this process?
Fantastic question, which is why I'm here as well in this design workshop. I think this is not a problem that's been solved, right? Because if it was solved, it's a cookie cutter model. We can go scaling, we can go replicating everywhere.
For sure.
You know the landscape in India. Every 100 meters, everything changes. The culture, the food, the language. And hence, I think there's a constant need for us to be very agile in our ability to address different types of women that we are working with, who have to be spoken to differently, whose needs are different, whose way of consuming things are different, the community needs are different. So I think the design element of taking this intervention to every woman in India and Nepal, if I were to take these two geographies, needs some amount of redesigning, some amount of learning, that we can at least take certain things which can be more broad-based, applied everywhere, and take certain things which are more nuanced and to be applied in only those geographies. So design plays a very, very large part. Coming to the content and the development of the LMS platform, how can we make that a lot more democratic, even more easily consumable way for our women across the two geographies that we are working in? There's a big role that design can play. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we can integrate all of those into taking this initiative to scale.
So how can we as students also contribute to this, like obviously on a much smaller scale, because we are still students. But so what do you think we can do in that aspect?
So certainly it's not small, let me tell you that, because at a very young age, if you're all sensitized to the kind of social problems that you are seeing now at such formative days of your building your work life and building your skill set, I think you'll all get sensitized to understanding how you configure solutions in the future. If you're going to be creating whatever is that solution, whatever is the design that you are trying to do in the future, your perspectives will say, how can this be gender specific? How can this be inclusive? How can this solve a lot more grassroots problems? So I'm hoping when young minds are inspired with these kind of solutions, we'll certainly see a poverty-free world into the future, and all of your abilities will play a very, very big role. It's not at all small.
Yeah.
Yes. What are some other issues other than what Pollinate works towards? What are some personal projects that you want to pursue in the future?
So I'll pick on that word personal. So I'm one girl child amongst many boys that I grew up with. And, I've always had my grandmother be my champion amongst all my boy cousins. So they would try and put 6 balls and say, 1 over, done, you go sit. Now we'll play serious cricket is what these boys would say. She would shout from the balcony and say, no, you will not do that. You will bowl to her until she's out. And she'll be a part of the integral game. So I had that privilege of a grandmother telling me this, right? But that same grandmother, when I got my admission in BITS Pilani way back, she turned around and said, no, we can't let you go that far. You're too precious for us. So you can see how even something as love can be a barrier. Forget everything else, right? It's not patriarchal, but it's just coming from the place, one girl in the family, how can I send her off for 5 years that far? And in those days, it was a 3-day trip from down south to up north. So the fact that those were all the barriers that I had is now giving me the energy to say, I had my grandmother, I had my parents, I had so many of my own family members that kind of, provided me with the energy to do what I'm doing today. And I need to do a lot more to help women who have no such support system, are still caught in the patriarchal, norms that dictate what they should do and what they shouldn't do. So I think that's where I get my energy to say, yes, we need to make a big, big difference to what we can leave this world behind with. Yeah.
So coming to today's conference, what did you think about the topics discussed there? How did you contribute? Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, firstly, I think the fact that design is getting integrated to all problems, although it is business and social, it is great, because I think India was always looked at as a number capital, tech capital. Now I think the fact that design is now becoming very big in India, and a country that offers itself to need or consumes design solutions. So I think there has so much scope to consume the design solutions. And From the social angle, there is nothing that has been done. We are all trying to configure solutions which are what has worked for us. For us, we feel we've been successful in empowering 2,400 women up until now, from 22 to 24. But there are 300 million that need this kind of interventions, which are livelihood focused, which are end-to-end 360-degree solution where you skill, you handhold, you make sure that they are trained continuously and they are on their own at the end of the 3-year journey. There's so much more that one can think of. I've come with a very open mind to learn from young minds, bright minds, and practitioners from the industry to see how we can sharpen the interventions that we have and take our work to as many million people that we can. So, great platform.
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you, and we're so grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. Thank you so much.
I'm truly grateful to have had this opportunity to come here and meet and spend time with all of you. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Hopefully, you're able to reach more people through our podcast as well.
I'm restless to do that, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.